All right, I am back with a new video this week, this league. We are playing the Big Bagged Wolf. That, of course, is Dr. Surf and Surf, Shrimp Tide, David Raska special, with a few updates. So the purpose of the testing this week is going to be about trying to see how good accumulated knowledge is in the main deck of this deck, and then trying to make it into the playoff elimination of a league event, which I haven't in basically a month. So, want to try to get into that top cut, and also really want to pay attention to what happens when we lose. So when I think about this deck, I feel extremely confident that it just beats pretty much everything, and then there's like a few things that are kind of good against it, but you can get kind of lucky, get good draws against those decks, or they get bad draws, etc., etc. So I'm trying to build decks that can combat Stiflenought, and I need to kind of get a feel for, one, if the accumulated knowledge adaptation makes Stiflenought then like trump however I was going to adapt, and then see if anybody has kind of some interesting takes on their decks running it. And like if I happen to lose any matches, which could happen, I expect it to less so with this deck than any other deck in the format, but if and when it happens, I want to kind of see what my opponents are doing. Are they doing the cards that I have talked about a lot, like Annul, Hidden Gibbons, maybe some Tempting Worm, maybe some Black mid-range, or is it actually kind of okay if you just board in 8 Pyroblast and pray that 8 Pyroblast is enough to get you there, or if there's just some nuance, some like good mix, because I actually don't queue up into enough Dreadnought to like, as you saw, my last league was all about trying to run my deck against Dreadnought, and of course I play 6 matches, no Dreadnought. So here we're just going to play Dreadnought. We're going to play 6 matches, all Dreadnought, and try to kind of feel out what our opponents are doing to adapt to this deck, and see if we can steal their ideas and find the anti-Dreadnought deck. If you're new to this deck, it's just super broken. It's a Dreadnought deck that boards into Tide. The 2 Mishra's Factory make you a really good Tide control deck. You can kind of bob and weave and do a bunch of things. You can be a Brain Freeze deck if you want. I'm just doing a little bit of everything. So this deck really likes, at times, the second Misdirection. I can see the third Powder Keg. I can see 2 to 3 Brain Freeze. I can see Accumulated Knowledge in the sideboard. I can I mentioned the third Flash of Insight, etc., etc., etc. So there are a lot of ways to configure this. It's kind of a brave new world with Dreadnought. One card I'm missing is Dominate, which is kind of excellent against the Mirror and Call the Herd tokens and manlands. You can give people a lot of different looks with this deck, and there's a reason why it's been completely tearing up the format. And I won the LobsterCon side event with the original version of this, and it's just, I don't know, it's broken. You're probably going to see it do broken things, but also going to be a win-win. If I win, then I win, and if I lose, then I get to take a peek at what decks are good into this deck, and then I can podcast about it and hopefully make the meta tilt in the direction that defeats Dreadnought, or puts it into a reasonable place in the world. So let's get into games. All right, we are back at it. Training weights are off. We're just going to play Dreadnought. Obviously, exceptional hand. Option to go off on turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. I can go off anytime I want. Obviously, I just need to find a second land, but when I do, it's all over for my opponent. Gemstone Mine is potentially concerning if they're playing a super fast combo deck against my no interaction. And it looks like they are interested in some super fast comboing. So, Gemstone Mine, Ancient Tomb. The most popular Gemstone Mine Ancient Tomb deck right now is Ill-Gotten Gains combo, which dies to just one copy of foil and is not particularly fast. So I would benefit from a Daze, and because I can Daze this and step Intuition. But the next best defense is to simply force them to kill me before turn whatever. Although that counterspell does mean I can kind of wait. I mean, I give them a 1 turn window, and then if they they'd have to have a turn 3 kill into a 1 turn window. Otherwise, they can sort of eventually get to a spot where they do some Cunning Wish stuff. I have this AK I'd like to cast. And all lands and counters are like super good. I am thinking, like, if they're not Ill-Gotten Gains combo, there's sort of more that I'd have to worry about. It's just so good to hold cantrips here, or cast all my cantrips rather. That's kind of just like what you're supposed to do, is cast all your cantrips. I have a tough decision here. It's not too tough. I'm just gonna AK. Stifle's pretty good against Ill-Gotten Gains. I'm just gonna pass the turn and bin this Flash of Insight, I think. I mean, I guess I could just go Gush and then go crazy. Just gonna clean this up. They miss their land drop, I miss my land drop. Yeah, so this is definitely Ill-Gotten Gains. So yeah, I don't really have to work that hard. I just have to stop Orm's Chant. That's like the only card that matters. Because what can happen is I can just counterspell the Orm's Chant, stifle the Brain Freeze. Pretty straightforward matchup. They don't really have a good plan for Dreadnought. They would need to like do Hidden Gibbons, I think. What could be interesting is if they go for like a Beast Attack line. 6 cards in hand, almost Threshold. They can certainly do some scary stuff here. Although this normally is just an Intuition, I think. So if they went like Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Ill-Gotten Gains, they could sort of get back their Orm's Chant and some value. Cunning Wish resolves. I don't have much to say about that. They could go for the additional Orm's Chant, which I would have to respond to with a Gush plus Flash of Insight flashback. I have to imagine I could have died on turn 3. They have the Ancient Tomb. Bance, pretty sexy. Okay. Yeah, we really want to draw foil. I'm gonna run out the Merchant Scroll, get some Intuition maybe. Yeah. Okay, 1 floating. Lost the 1 floating, huh? Now I gotta opt. Gush. Not really looking for Gush right now. I need to end the turn with 3 mana in play to stop their stuff. Should I Flash of Insight for 3 right now? Feels like my hand wants to do that. And that's exactly what we were looking for. Okay, so now we can pretty much ship it. Double foil is obviously disgusting. Yeah, so the reason why Ill-Gotten Gains combo can't beat foil is because they have to cast Ill-Gotten Gains, and that allows me to continue to return foil to my hand. So they can advance, they can go through their combo, they can Ill-Gotten Gains, I can foil, and then of course I can return foils to my hands and then also return stifles to my hand. So if they could somehow do it with enough mana to cast Orm's Chant again through through the interaction, it would be a different story, but right now it's just not how it goes. Discard an island card, and honestly, I'll just pitch another island. So the question here is if I would foil an intuition, and I don't think I would, because they can have all the Illigan gains they want. Pretty interesting. I think I am glad I chose the patience route this time. So much card draw in my hand, it would have been a shame to just like lose on turn 3. Ritual is fine. Ritual. I wonder if they could somehow live in a world where they have like the main deck hunting pack technology. Intuition resolves. Intuition, somehow make double blue. And then, well, I have the Stifle, so I kind of have all my bases covered. Lion's Eye Diamond is obviously good. Second Lion's Eye Diamond is obviously good. They do have like enough mana to re-obey? Question mark? Yeah, second foil. So the real question is, would they have won if this Illigan gains resolved? They would have had access to 7 mana. And then I would have just had a foil and maybe like Island Stifle. So I could foil again. But so then they would just go, they'd Orm's Chant. I'd foil the Orm's Chant, but they'd have so much mana floating. So their hand could be Orm's Chant, LED, Illigan gains. Would they have had enough mana if they, instead of gaining a bunch of mana each rotation, they actually lose mana each rotation, but they can end with like Orm's Chant? No, because they would have had 7 mana, so they would have gone 7, 6, 5. Well, no, they could just go Lion's Eye, double crack Lion's Eye Diamond for... So one, I should have just let the Illigan gains resolve because they would have had like Dark Ritual. They wouldn't have had enough mana to... It's an interesting one. Oh, yeah. Anyways, their line here was to go crack for white, crack for blue. Orm's Chant gets foiled. Or counterspelled or whatever, and then abeyance gets through, and then they can merchant scroll for brain freeze. So that would have been a 7 mana line, and they had 7 mana, but they didn't float the mana, so would have just picked up the foil and then just countered the Illigan gains because they didn't float the mana. And they would have been just like on black mana. So I think they had a few operational errors there. So can I ever trick them with my own brain freeze? So they go through the whole loop and then I brain freeze them, but they don't ever draw a card, so probably not. Foil's good. Daze is surprisingly good. Misdirection is good. Annul is borderline. Chain of Vapor is just completely unnecessary. Although they do sometimes have random... Okay, so if they have Defense Grid, then I want Annul. And do I want a bunch of accumulated knowledge? I mean, Parallax Tide is not like awful here. All right, have to click submit with the 1 second left on the clock. Don't go around mulling these hands either. So I'd really like, obviously, Misdirection or Foil to be available. So the other thing is, if I have Counterspell Gush Foil, then I can beat almost... I could have almost beat the single Orm's Chant line. I can't beat the double Orm's Chant line. I think my opponent doesn't understand that Duress is very poor against... I think they might have net decked this and then not realized that discard is a little bit ineffective because, again, Illigan Gains lets me pick up my exciting foils. So they haven't like listened to the podcast content surrounding it. Okay, so it's just the island, huh? Well, I need the island. I'm okay with a Chain of Vapor or an Annul here, I think. Yeah. I can't go hunting for foil. Because I know there's a Dreadnought on top. I guess I get to shuffle and then look again. I think I'll just do it. Be kind of funny if my opponent bluffed the frustration over this play, because they can easily win on turn 3. If only I could shuffle my deck. I'll Portent myself. Okay. I'll go ahead and Gush here because I'm missing my land drop, and Stifle is a good draw. Okay. Portent myself again. There's the foil. Pretty good setup. And I'm just porting my opponent, even though they might intuition. These are kind of good cards. Opt, Impulse. Or do I want them to draw Lion's Eye Diamonds? Like, Lion's Eye Diamond's actually kind of good. Guess it's okay if they draw Lion's Eye Diamond. They're like too far from being able to combo. Oh, I have 3. I don't know what my opponent was looking for. It's just they have 7 lands and a random Orbs chant. Oh well. Well, that's why this deck is broken. Very Conclave. Oh man, it's gonna be a slow one. Alan, go. Ooh, Plains. I like the sound of that. Ooh, Seal Cleansing. Okay, we can work with this. I have the answer to Seal Cleansing in my hand. So the real question is if I think that they are a standstill deck. I mean, a lot of Fairy Conclave Seal Cleansing decks are standstill decks. Oh, I can also just double Dreadnought, double Stifle. Triple Dreadnought, triple Stifle? Well, one of the Stifles is going to be for the Seal Cleansing, right? Let's see, no cantripping from them. Their hand's pretty, whatever. They do want to do something. They want to cast Standstill. Interesting. What if I Chain of Vapor the Seal Cleansing and then attack with Mishra's Factory? Is there anything better to Chain of Vapor later? Just Humility? Okay. I mean, they have a Mishra's Factory too. Standstill's a really excellent card against me. I think I will take this line. It's a little strange, but if it baits a random counter, obviously it's excellent, and then there's still random upside. Because they're just never going to attack. They would never attack with like leaving me up. Can I beat draw 3? I probably can. No counterspell there. So what's in their hand? Just Plowshares? Just nothing? They like want to max out on their interaction. This just used my resources like so well. That's why I did it. But my main lands can't get through their main lands because factories block factories. So my next Dreadnought, I have to like wait until I have the maximum card advantage. Interesting that they don't go for anything here. Go for it on my upkeep. I will let the counterspell resolve and then I will Stifle again. Actually don't mind gaining 12 life here either. Actually putting them down to 7 is also excellent. Do they just have nothing? Why do they have nothing? Aw. Seems unfair. Alright. Just gotta do it the slow way, I guess. Stand still. Annoying, but at least my factory blocks their factory. I have to hit my land drops though, so. Ooh, Dust Bowl. Dust Bowl is pretty strong. Could lose this game. I have to race to my next Dreadnought setup, and they're just drawing 3 cards at a time. Interesting. So now they have mana leaks. Yeah, Impulse is fine, right? Because it'll help me get to my next accumulated knowledge, which is kind of like all that matters. Impulse. The Seal Cleansings imply that they have Tide. They're not attacking though, which is a gift. Question is if I Impulse for a Stifle against the Decree of Justice here. Guess I'm taking a foil. Okay. They have like a sort of 2-turn clock if they want it. We have a lot of Counterspell, but not a lot of foil and not a lot of blue mana. Should I force them to Dust Bowl? I don't know. Kind of seems okay. Kind of need the mana, because if they Dust Bowl, well, I just need to cast Flash of Insight this turn. What am I looking for? I think I should leave the AKs. Feels like we're not really in an AK world right now. They have 6 cards in hand. We just want Vision Charm right now. I mean, this game is getting very close to over, and I won't have like too much to say about it unless I ship the Vision Charm immediately. Second foil is obviously good, but do I want the Stifle? So if I Vision Charm, I want the Vision Charm because of random Wrath of God. And how many cards is this? This is 8 cards. My last cards will be I have 1 Dreadnought gone. I have almost all the Stifles gone. I'm going to be needing a Stifle before I need my next Dreadnought, probably. Or I should probably have put the Gush. But I'll know that if I play the Gush that's at the bottom of my library, I'll be drawing double foil. Daze. Daze is not nothing. Cast Dreadnought. Too many counterspells in my hand, of course. 3 counterspells is too many counterspells. Guess I'm counterspell targeting counterspell here. Oops. I guess I had to counter that counterspell. Okay. Let's just move on and for the sake of time here. I figured they were countering my counter, but obviously they were not. So we do this. This is good. These are good. This is good. We don't need too many of these. We don't need a lot of these. Dust Bowl makes me not want to play these. And these are pretty irrelevant. And we're still playing too many of these. And oh, I don't have the 3rd Flash of Insight. Oh my god. What a throw. No 3rd Flash of Insight. This deck's not even playable. Alright, we're the control deck now. I think this Annul is a little thin. I guess they showed a lot of targets. They showed that they showed Standstill, which is amazing against us, and then Standstill, which is amazing against us, and then Seal Cleansing, that type of stuff. We're on the play. All right, we're on the keep. We have turn 2 Dreadnought with foil backup. Maybe it's enough. I mean, if we draw a Gush, we're shipping it. Obviously, we can't draw Daze. If we draw Island, we're also shipping it. I forgot they could be like just a random Meddling Mage deck, but that's okay. Second foil, fine. Guess we're waiting until we draw a Gush. Counting this Meddling Mage is going to be so annoying. Because obviously I can't really do it. White. What do you need white for? Fine. So bad. Man. My next turn would have been sick, though. Island and Yeah, second foil is brutal, but I think the way this game is going, it's kind of where I have to be. I could always discard the counterspell. Not really in a place in this game for where the second foil is good. Oh, of course I draw my other win con. All right. I guess we're playing a Tide game. All right, they have 4 cards in hand. So if they're super clever, they can ship the... okay, cool. Timing here is pretty good for me, so now I can pivot. I have 32 life. I only have 1 Dreadnought left in my deck anyways. They could name Parallax Tide. They could get 4 damage in a turn. If I was them, I definitely would start attacking, all things considered. I'm looking for my Powder Keg now. I guess Chain of Vapor could set me up too. Parallax Wave. It's the wrong one. Okay. Getting frisky. Guess we should keep in the Mishra's Factory as my additional outs. Interesting. This could be a very fast Dreadnought. Flash for 5. I know we can take quite a few attacks, but Powder Keg's pretty good here. So I bought him to Chain of Vapor, huh? Mishra's Factory. Gets in for 4. Tick up. A little flooded. They have 6 cards in hand. They don't have a lot of blue sources. I don't know why they fetched the plains instead of the island there. I guess they're playing the plains strategy. Anyways, I'm pretending that this is naming Parallax Tide, by the way. Obviously, I would just completely ignore it otherwise. Although, I guess there's like some argument for Keg to want to pump up like this anyways. Even just because this one of these creatures costs mana and the other doesn't. Huh. Wonder what that's about. All of a sudden they're not feeling that aggressive anymore. I think I want to cast this Gush through counter magic, actually. Misdirection's not bad. Parallax Tide into Stifle. Seems good. With Misdirection backup. Yeah, they wanted to cast... oh, they wanted to cycle Decree of Justice for 1. That's interesting. 5th land. Guess I'll counterspell this. Get in for 3. Pretty crucial get in for 3 there, but it also means that my Tide is going to get paid here. Annul? I can't Misdirection the Annul. Okay, you got me. Guess it's Dreadnought time. That was so good. I think I'm just gonna lose to this landstill deck. I didn't get enough card draw. All right. Also, my last win con accidentally. Whoops. I actually can't exile the Brain Freeze because that was my last win con. Okay. We messed up a little bit. Oops. I just exiled my last win con. It's like my last Dreadnought, my last Stifle. I don't even have Mishra's Factory, and oh boy. Okay, don't do what I just did. I'm just gonna have to see if my opponent decides to put themselves to their own death with Factor Fictions and standstills. Oh, they animated the wrong Mishra's Factory. Naming the wrong thing with Meddling Mage, animating the wrong Mishra's Factories. I've given them a lot of rope here. Yeah, keep drawing cards. It's exactly what I want. Unfortunately, I have to save my last Powder Keg for the last Decree. I have a Vision Charm at least, so technically if they draw 1 more card, I got this. But I also am about to get Decreed, so that's not good. Also, I drew 9 lands. It's kind of unfair. 10 lands. I only have 8 lands left in my deck. Okay, I kind of sideboarded wrong. I kind of just, I don't know, everything was just a little messy. I mean, I don't know how wrong I sideboarded. Obviously, like the meddling mage situation is very popular these days, so can't be surprised by that. But you know, I don't know. What was like the resource stuff like? I drew 10 lands, and 18 non-lands. I cast Misdirection. I had to foil. I annulled their standstill. I got a Gush off. Got both sides a Flash of Insight. I got 1 AK. I guess my AKs being in the bottom half is like kind of the bigger throw. Okay, hopefully their interaction here is a mana leak. And not Annul. Alright. GG's. I mean, land still can definitely do it. You board into Meddling Mage, bunch of Annul. Both of my plans are weak to Annul. I assumed that the Seal Cleansing deck wouldn't be so hard on Annul, but this would have been the matchup where I would have needed to board out Dreadnoughts entirely, and then just played Parallax Tide, control with Brain Freeze backup. And then Powder Keg's obviously good here. Had to use it on a single Meddling Mage. All right, GG's. All right, match 3. I am getting dealt the goods. I'm on the draw though, so I could get duressed or I could get Goblin Lackeyed. Oh my God, is it burn? Forest? It's elves? Oh my God, it's zoo. Okay. I think unless they have double naturalize, I think I'm pretty good. Now I can even foil a proactive card. They're in for 1. I'm in for Dreadnought combo. 10 land Stompy, huh? Pouncing Jaguar. Seal of Fire. Yeah, I think I can probably erase this. But yeah, you win these games against almost anything. Duress like would have been sort of like the only out. Like maybe if they had Duress Tempting Worm. Try to think about any deck that can beat, turn 2 protected. Yeah, that's how that works. All right, so things get a little bit interesting after sideboard. I have to imagine they run some sort of lightning bolt type stuff, and they're going to have some red blasts, so I should just have my blue blast because I can get red cards and I can get red blasts. And I guess I'm just going to assume they don't have hate permanents. And I could have thought about boarding out all 4 AKs. I could put Powder Keg in. It's kind of thin. So I board out the AKs. Then what do I board in? These. I mean, AK is not bad. Actually, it is pretty bad. Chain of Vapor is good if they have Call the Herd, Pouncing Jaguar, Sky Shroud Elite. This is pretty thin. I don't like Powder Keg on the draw. I don't like Powder Keg in general against decks that just aren't going to go that crazy. But like if Powder Keg like picks up a Grim Lavamancer and like they have so many 1-drops that it kind of feels like it probably gets more action than AK. So I'm just going to vibe with it. 1-drops are pretty good, right? I have to have a Dreadnought hand, like a Dreadnought protection hand, because I can't really play defense on the draw. I mean, I could blocking with Mishra's Factory, but this is obviously a mulligan. And Mishra's Factory obviously turns on their Sky Shroud Elite, but this is obviously excellent. This is why this deck is broken, because what is your opponent going to do? So I'm just kind of impulsing for a blast here. I can even end step impulse. But now I have redundant whatever. So I'll just go end step impulse jam, looking for maybe Daze. They're pretty slow. And then ironically, Powder Keg totally answers Hidden Gibbons. So if they play Mountain, I have to worry about naturalize Red Blast. But if they don't, then I'll be fine. Treetop Animation gets in. I mean, if this is all they're doing, it signals to me that their hand contains a lot of interaction. The only issue is that they can kind of flip the clock on me really quickly, but I think I need just a little bit more mana in play. Like, I think they probably have Naturalized Blast. 5 cards in hand. They didn't play any creatures. They're not holding up Blast. They want to get damage in. I can ship it with single protection. I think I want that one more layer, and I can also just afford to wait. And then, you know, there it is. Now I can just ship it with double protection. Kind of seems like a reasonable place to be. So I beat Naturalized Blast. I potentially stop them from attacking. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it gets better than this. Hidden Gibbons is pretty good, though. I have to, like, this Dreadnought has to be the winning Dreadnought. And then even then, they could backswing for 4 plus change. Like, if they go Naturalize, then I Vision Charm, they can backswing for 4. And then I go down to 13, and they can hit me down to 9. And then maybe muster enough burn. Probably not, but who knows. Should I foil instead of Vision Charm if they go for Naturalize? They have a good sideboard. They drew a sideboard card. Should I foil instead of Vision Charm? I mean, I kind of want to cast this Impulse if this Vision Charm gets through. I mean, I assume they just have Blast, right? Okay, they've got nothing. Okay. Ooh, Misdirection. So if I draw Gush, I can both Misdirection and foil. And of course, Misdirection works on Red Blast. So they're playing to block. They'll be taking 5 down to 1. Okay, I guess I got this. Interesting hand. Feels like they elected to not cast Call the Herd on 3 or not cast Jackal Pup on 3, all of which I think would have been better than what they did. Yep, they go down to 1. And I think I can play this. Oh, I don't have to play this island though, because I have 2 mana for Counterspell. I guess I might draw a 2 mana spell with my Gush. But yeah, I can beat triple interaction here. And obviously I can beat a burn spell. All right. Yeah, this has the potential to be a tougher matchup, but I just drew so well. Like obviously game 1 was free, which is why this deck is broken. And then game 2, 2 sideboard cards against, you know, the nuts again. What am I supposed to do? This deck is just too good. Like, this is so dumb. Like, what? My opponent drew sideboard cards. They had creatures. They had beat down. They didn't even have burn spells. I would have beat them if they had blast. Like, they needed to have 2 more cards than they actually did. Yeah, you have to play black deck. So you have to play like discard with this kind of aggression. If you go duress Hidden Gibbons, you'll get me. They go Hidden Gibbons into duress. But yeah, I mean, I mulliganed to 6. This is just disgusting. Disgusting deck. All right, battling Roboton, known red mage. Got to keep a fast hand. So close. This hand has some interesting properties. Doesn't really dig though. Could actually like sometimes hold my opponent off with like an early Chain of Vapor, while I wait to try to draw one of 4 Dreadnoughts with just accumulated knowledge. But once I draw that Dreadnought, it has protection. But just, I don't know. I don't really want to see these 3 cards if I assume my opponent's on red. Right? This one's a banger. Can't imagine a better 5 than this, besides obviously just like combo Daze or whatever. Drawing into the impulse is interesting. But we can do better, I think. Especially because we have the Gush. Treetop Village. Okay. Different stuff going on here. Playing a different kind of game. So we're just going to let my opponent probably do their black mid-range situation. Could be really bad news for me if it's a black-green mid-range deck. Rishan Port, okay. Looks like it's Pawn's Oath or Wayfarer situation. That Sylvan Library is pretty concerning. But I think we just have to trust our AKs here. Or just go for the double protection this turn. Okay, we can hold up Counterspell. After a hot streak of always having it, we finally don't have it. But don't think anyone would complain from this spot. Opponent's in a great spot though. But regardless of how great a spot they might be in, they're on the draw. And I might be able to have a lot to say about what they're up to. 3 mana for a 1/1 Terravore. Winter's Grasp. Yeah. Seems fine to me. There's plenty of instants that I can draw here. And obviously we draw into the absolute nuts. So once again, pretty blessed. And yeah, we have a Dreadnought. Our opponent has nothing. I mean, they can go for Port, Naturalize, and then get some pretty bad news, I think. Yeah, I would definitely take 4 damage here. Another Mox Diamond. Serving it up to the upkeep. Can certainly go for the Port. Sandbag until my draw step. Oh, they're going to let me put a land into play. I like that. I guess that's pretty sketchy land to put into play because I wanted to have a land for foil. So now I'm just going to have Counterspell. I can obviously impulse into the island and then be in a good spot. Especially if they just go for Port plus pass priority. But they could then respond to the impulse with the Naturalize, which would be really excellent. Guess I could have Portented for the island maybe. Going for it again on my upkeep. Probably Port now. They don't want to get dazed, I guess. Okay. Gonna go for the naked Counterspell on this. But it smells like a double Naturalize. Yeah. They got it. Well. Oh. Perfect timing. Gush, huh? Gush, nothing. Not literal nothing. Just mostly nothing. But still better than nothing. Where was that Daze before? Goes for the shuffle. 2 cards left in hand. A lot of attacking to do with this Treetop Village before it gets interesting. Could Stifle the fetch, obviously. Kind of greedy. Gush into one of these Chain of Vapors. Okay, I mean, might as well. And that is quite lucky. Just remind me not to Chain of Vapor or anything. No fetch to shuffle, huh? Alright, Misdirection, Tide Plan. Answers to Manlands, answers to Sphere Resistance, and answers to Red Elemental Blast. So lots to do here. Typically we go with no Dazes. We need this too. No Mishra's Factories. Take out 2 Dreadnoughts. Take out I guess you just don't really need foil. It's like good against Sphere Resistance, Hidden Gibbons. What else? Oh, take out 3 Vision Charms. And foil is decent in the counter war, but I guess I'm bringing in other counters. Like foil helps protect the Parallax Tide, but it's almost unnecessary to be that protective of it. I mean, Annul on the draw is like a little bit worse, but not like the worst. This is where you want like a few more copies of Misdirection, basically. Guess I don't have to play lots of Counterspell. I don't have to counter anything, especially on the draw. Let's see what kind of strategies the Red-Green Oath has adopted. I think I would definitely want Hidden Gibbons. I'd also consider keeping Land Destruction post board. I've been talking about it that if my deck, the blue deck, is going to play the Tide plan, then the Land Destruction plan makes a lot more sense. But, you know, on the other hand, this deck also is just doesn't draw a lot of cards. So that's too many Stifles. I am going to Stone Rain one of these if I get the chance. But instead, we're just going to rip a Mishra's Factory and a Sylvan Library. That's the best card. Sylvan's going to do a lot of work here. But if I draw Tide, I'm not in bad shape. Port's not bad from them, but I think it's going to be pretty slow. And they have no red source yet, so I'm definitely stifling a Wooded Foothills. Okay, lots of islands. It's not a huge fan of not having any cantrips, but I am a fan of having islands. Be able to shake off a Sphere of Resistance. But yeah, being Stifle flooded is kind of obnoxious. But I am going to Stifle that. Stop them from getting red mana, I think is pretty good. And the secondary green is pretty good. I do have to guard my Stifles a little bit. Oh, there's a sweet Annul. Super happy to see that, especially as I'm getting ported. But I don't even know what I would Annul at this point. Well, I guess I get Annul Hidden Gibbons if they have it. And then if not, oh, there's the Carp Florist ruining all my fun. They're going to elect to Mishra's instead. So nice slow game, just like the doctor ordered. And yeah, we get to do this with Blast backup, which is excellent. Tight on the stack. They do have the Blast, and now they have no lands. This might have been like a little premature, but I have so many Stifles. I'm going to draw the next Tide. I'm getting 2 man lands, an Erishan Port, and a red source. I think these are all good outcomes. I wonder if I want 1 dominate. Be kind of reasonable. Oh, I guess they could have sandbagged red source Blast. Heckin' bamboozle me. Interesting choice there. They're just giving me that free land. I think they might have been at that sort of giving up point when you're playing against Dreadnought and they're doing bad things to you. Yep, putting them in 1-hit range makes sense. Okay, rebuilding. Jormod's Crypt. I guess I have an AK in the yard. Pretty important AK. Pretty good Tormod's Crypt from them, of course. Keg, huh? I think we hold on to Keg so that we just don't run into random naturalize. Wait until they play some Call the Herd. Oh, I guess I had the Stifle, but it's a little dicey. I've used 2 Stifles now, so I have 1 Stifle and 1 Chain of Vapor left for the purpose of answering Dreadnought. It's taking all my energy to not snap off this Parallax Tide. Yeah, I can't just be throwing Stifles around, even though this one's pretty tasty. I guess I should like let them fetch, because if they just random Call the Herd, that's fine. See if they flash it back and run it straight into the Powder Keg. Or obviously I can get there with the Parallax Wave Chain of Vapor. I only have 1 Tide left. There's a Chain of Vapor. There's a second Powder Keg. Chain of Vapor and Keg at this point feel like they do very close to the same thing, except for Chain of Vapor turns on my next Tide. which I am interested in drawing because I just put the Flash of Insight in my yard. Foil, huh? Okay, just gonna pass. I should have held that island, obviously. Lux Diamond. Going for the Terravor. Well, 3/3 Terravor. They're holding up mana. Just like all I heard flashback here. Nothing. Interesting. Interesting red blast, but I think my foil is not getting more exciting than this Flash of Insight needs to find Gush, when it needs to find, you know, accumulated knowledge, etc., etc., etc. Well, there's the Tide. So I can Tide trick now. It's kind of interesting. I think I just want to draw cards. These are all excellent cards, though. Oh, and it also means I'm like going to be a lot. I actually have to take the Tide because I bottomed the other Tide. That's annoying. Okay. So when we draw the last AK, we know that it's going to draw these 4 excellent cards. Those being Instants, and then Dreadnought. All right, there are 2 Pyroblast down. I think I'll just, oh, I drew the Counterspell. That's so strong. Makes me basically invincible from this spot. I gotta go Powder Keg, Chain of Vapor, and then the Mox Diamond sitting around. I think it's pretty solid. Do some appropriate. Maybe this Tide, no, because I get it back and I have the Stifle rolled up. And it just deletes their clock, and I'm gonna naturalize it instead of letting it thing. So actually, well, it just means that I use my keg, right? And then the Stifle is for my first Dreadnought. I think I can live with that. So they won't get tided anymore. So this Powder Keg is kind of the last hit. I think I might have gone too fast this game. I mean, I could have considered counterspelling because basically this Parallax, that Parallax Tide was supposed to extend the game into infinity, basically, because I needed to get it twice. Like, they're going to rebuild. They've only lost 1, 2, 3, 4. You see, they got the next threat right away. So they've only lost 8 lands instead of, like, you know, infinity. Guess I can Gush alternate cost. Okay, what have we got? We're thinking about casting something there, huh? What? Oh, I wonder if, like, I should be, like, worried about Boil and Carpet Flowers, like, and other crazy sideboard tech. Of course, I'm just saying, I think the thing I'm, like, the most scared of is Hidden Gibbons, of course. Gonna go for a Call the Herd. Gush. Should I counterspell Call the Herd? I think I have to. I mean, I guess I go Dreadnought, Stifle, Vision, Charm, whatever. Once I get it. And I could get it quickly. But it just means that I'm over cover. They have 1 card in hand. And I used a keg already. Can we draw AK? Have I shuffled my library that without knowing? It's okay. This foil just buys me a turn because they get to spend their next turn flashing back Call the Herd. Should I Stifle this? I don't think so. Still 1 card in hand. This Call the Herd's doing work for sure, but I'm just trying to draw my good stuff. Should I Chain of Vapor annul the Sylvan Library? No, I should Chain of Vapor the next Call the Herd token. Or, of course, the dream scenario would be to just have Parallax Tide. Yeah, maybe I had to do things a little differently. AK for 2 me. There's a few good cards this Gush can draw that cost mana. Portent into Flash of Insight. Sounds good to me. All right. Hit all our cantrips. Do I even need to cast this Chain of Vapor now? Because I'm just, like, guaranteed to find Dreadnought. How many cards did I bottom? I cast Impulse. No, I didn't cast any Impulses. So I just cast Flash of Insight for 6. So I know the bottom 6. My next Flash of Insight cast is going to look at the bottom, look at the next 12. So I needed to look at a few more cards. I could have sworn I bottomed some. Oh, I did cast Impulse. It's on the screen. So I know the bottom 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's like 14 cards until the first like Parallax Tide. And I think the game could get to the over point before then. I don't have to protect all the islands in my hand anymore. I feel like I only have one foil left in the deck. Game got too intricate for me. My like just my brain is cooked. Yeah, we're just gonna do that. So we don't want the Stifle, so we are, I guess we'll take the Stifle because we're in a hurry. Well, it's Stifle or Island. So I guess I'll take the Stifle. I'm not like in the biggest hurry. I'm in kind of a hurry. And we're taking the Stifle no matter. Oh, we could take the third card. Okay, let's take the third card. Which is accumulated knowledge, of course. Okay. AK is going to dig us to the last few cards we need, right? So I'm going to draw the Chain of Vapor instead of the Portent. I don't know. I don't really know the order of my deck anymore. But yeah, the Chain of Vapor is an instant, and I think I don't need to cast Portent. I'm going to have all the cards in the world. Okay, so I know my last 6, 7, I know my last 9, and I have 10, so I need to draw 11 cards to get into my last pile. But I'd like to get into my final 6, because my final 6 has all the AK into the nuts, right? So, okay, opponent gets in with Treetop. Nothing too crazy there. We're going to flash past everything. I'm just not going to worry about it. I just know my cards are there, and I'm going to get to them with my AK. Yeah, 13 gets to my bottom 7, and then I'm going to draw nothing but heat. And so we're just going to, yeah, we can just take, what do we just take? Just take, I'm holding 13 cards. But I'm going to take Parallax Tide, and then I'm going to draw, Dreadnought and Friends. Dreadnought, Counterspell. Okay, whatever. Like this is a little extra, but it just, like I have 2 Dreadnoughts in my deck, so that's all I need to win. Oh, I should have cast the AK. Whoops. All right, it's actually fine. Oh, I should have untapped the land. Okay, I need to break back into my Dreadnoughts. But they are in the bottom 12, so I will get there. There they are. And Island, Dreadnought, Stifle, Portent U, GG. Okay. And yeah, and that's Dreadnought versus Red Green Oath. Pretty good demonstration of why the Tide plan completely flipped this matchup. Just makes it so that you can take out all their offense, because all their offense is man lands and Call the Herd. Like even Terravor here, just a 4/4, so you can counter Terravors if you want. But Parallax Tide and Chain of Vapor fight against their offense. And yeah, so what is that for us now? 3-1? I think so. All right, let's jump into match numero 5 against DJ Hoderace. I am on the play. I'm broken. And this one's pretty good. I got a lot of dig. I'll probably find that Dreadnought and all the other stuff I need to. A kind of interesting thing here going on where Portent. So I want the foil. I don't really want the Stifle. I guess taking foil and impulse is pretty fine. So if I'm going to take 2 cards, and then I can actually opt away the Stifle if I want. I guess I could have opened on holding up Stifle. Oh, Wild Growth. It's Enchantress. Enchantress is a tricky one. I actually have to like foil an Enchantress like pretty quickly. I guess I have to use foil for protection here. Let's go ahead and impulse because we might hit a Daze. Additional foil. Okay, well, I almost just want the island here because I'm discarding a card. Just gonna gush. Probably gonna gush into more islands though. Gush opt into more islands. And this foil is like really bad. I'm not gonna have islands to pitch to it, but if I kind of want to counter the follow-up Enchantress too. Honestly, I'm just taking the safety foil. Seems like it's just good to have 2 foils here. Well, that's interesting. Could have changed the plan into turbo mode. Gush is really good. Now I have double Dreadnought. So I can draw AK Gush. I can opt away the Dreadnought if I want to, but I won't have foil access. So I think this is just a shuffle. That's kind of the top deck I wanted. If I'm able to stop the Enchantresses, I can develop my own card advantage. Yeah. Feels rancid, but it's kind of the world we live in. I think I gotta ship this Dreadnought and hope that they're not playing a version that plays Swords of Plowshares. Swords of Plowshares hasn't been in the main deck of Enchantress for quite some time. So they could be only on Seal Cleansing as Waste Hands or Dreadnought. Let's see. Man, the triple Enchantress draw is pretty good though. Ugh. Okay, I guess I should have used it on protection. Oh boy. Well, they certainly have enough mana. Oh my god. What a draw. Quadruple Enchantress, all 1-mana enchantments. And I have to pay 2 for my next attack. Okay, whatever. They can still miss. Man, that's actually a good top deck if they don't I mean, there's worlds in which it's a good top deck, so. But I have a feeling we're like staring down the barrel of an inevitable Opalescence, Parallax Wave, Seal the Cleansing, Swords of Plowshares, second Elephant Grass. I guess I should have played the island because I needed to take second Elephant Grass out of the range of things that could be a problem. Oh, man, what a good Enchantress draw, though. I guess I shouldn't complain about my opponent's draws. I'm basically the devil right now. Yeah, it was second Elephant Grass. I mean, can you imagine if I just let that first presence resolve? I'd probably have gotten wildly cooked anyways. Right, so Opalescence. Sterling Grove. Okay. That's enough for me. I mean, I guess I can watch them get the wave. Just kind of want to get some information about their deck. Smells like no Plowshares, right? They have Elephant Grass Exploration and Mirri Skyle. These are like the 3 1-drop green enchantments that you play instead of Plowshares. Okay. Well, good job from my opponent, I think. Let's see where we can go here. I think I do want the Powder Kegs. Yeah, I think Powder Keg has to be my strategy because if I'm going to play a long game, then I have to be able to blow up Argothians. 11 cards. I don't think I'm going to play a fast game. I think they're not going to be prepared for tide control plan. I mean, I want to see if it works. It did work the last time I tried it, and I even have answers to Xanid Swarm and Hidden Gibbons. So let's give Mono Blue control a try. There's nothing to misdirect, right? Just literal nothing to misdirect. I mean, this hand is going to tide combo my opponent. Could see myself stifling an opening fetch. My opponent's not going to give me the chance. Draw an island, so we get a foil with an AK, which is like the best feeling in the world. Sterling Grove, huh? That's fine. Don't think I'm planning on targeting any enchantments soon. Oh no, we got plenty of foils. And have the option to stifle the grove, but don't really see a reason to. Second grove. Nice. The resources are accumulating. Opponent's doing excellent on clock, though. I have to really worry about that because this plan is so slow. So we'll yield to this Miri's Guile. Okay, imagine they cast Seed Time and then just like rock me. Okay. Dreadnought is at the bottom of the deck, although I have Gush double backup. Huh. Actually, this is just going to be a Dreadnought game, I think. Oh my god. They don't even have enough lands for me to care about. I don't even know what to do. Like I need the there we go. There we go. Okay. I think I'm casting this Gush even though I'm holding 2 foils. Maybe not. It's hard to say. What do I even need foil for? I'm gonna tide them. Actually, I need a Gush so I can find the Chain of Vapor because I'm gonna go Parallax Tide, this thing, and then I can just go Parallax Tide. Okay. Well, I was thinking about a bunch of stuff, but I wanted to draw Chain of Vapor so I didn't have to waste the Stifle because this Dreadnought's just gonna get in. I guess Chain of Vapor makes it so that I can't bounce a Sterling Grove or whatever. Wasted all my luck on the first game. So what will he take? Gush or Gush? Yeah, Gush and only Gush, I think. Off this impulse. Just what the doctor ordered. Another Tide just in case. What a hand. This hand was a work of art. I only have 1 Dreadnought left in my deck, but it just happens to kind of show up next to like perfect Tide combo. I had all the counter spells for enchantresses. Everything was just covered the entire time. I wish I could play 6 Stifles. They're so useful. Oh man, I just get to annul this. Oh, I forgot that I'm I was planning on stifling the Parallax Tide. Oops. It's probably fine. Should I look for the Stifle? I probably should, right? I mean, they have the Serra Sanctum. Now they have all the mana they need. So I am going to look for the Stifle, but so that I can stifle this Tide, not this one. Okay. We are going to do it. Broken Style. Okay. Got there with the Tide plan. We would have got there with the Mishra's Factory. It would have taken a while, but we would have done it. So they do have Swords to Plowshares, so that is something to kind of worry about. So I think this plan holds. The only question I have is if I should play any amount of Daze because of how fast the scary stuff can hit the battlefield. Yeah, I think there's like sort of 2 kind of games that can happen. Oh, I forgot I can play Brain Freeze against them. It's kind of two kinds of games that can happen. One where they land an enchantress, and enchantress outpaces all of your ability to draw cards, and one where they don't. And in that case, like, Daze protects you from being in an enchantress world, which is like a pretty important thing to avoid. I want to avoid every world where they have enchantress. I guess if I have brain freeze, I don't have to use Dreadnought to win the game, but it doesn't hurt to have. Yeah, I think I'll even take out one impulse, maybe. Seems crazy, but I think it's okay. Low on clock, I might even want to play the second Dreadnought. Now I have a bunch of Stifles, but I do have the Daze, so Daze into Counterspell, which is not bad. Ooh, Exploration kind of stops me from being able to do the good stuff here. Okay, now we are going to be racing to put this together, which we will do on turn 4, assuming no interruptions in service. Excellent. Man, doesn't get better than that. Okay, well, now we are going to do it on turn 5, so there's that. Or of Silence. Well, nothing I can do about that, but it does mean I've got the next enchantress countered. So Sterling Grove. Oh, nothing I can do about that. I guess I could play the Mishra's Factory that turn, start attacking. Yeah, I think attacking's good. The first one I think I can lose to a lose in service of helping other things happen that are good for me. But yeah, Aura of Silence is a nice one against both of my plans. Oh, got the brain freeze, so I can stop the Sterling Grove for funsies. Actually, I only need to get to 6 mana for this Tide to be good, so, or 7 mana, just to be safe. Ugh, gross. Absolutely gross. I can't discard any of these cards. I guess I'm discarding a Parallax Tide, huh? I think I discard a Stifle, though. Oh man, that's really hard to say. Okay. Pitching a... And I can't get this plowed right now, so unfortunately I just gotta leave it. I mean, I guess I could pitch the Gush. It seems like absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we have 3 Chain of Vapors. I think we can ditch a Stifle. We have the Mishra's Factory, which is our game plan. I mean, that's what happens when you cut all the cantrips. You make it harder to get into your lands, which I kind of forgot was a thing. Okay, well, at least I did the right thing with regards to pitching the Stifle earlier. I'm happy I did that. This brain freeze is gonna go. A little fetch land for them. Island finally. So I wonder if they have access to mountain. Oh, nice. Okay, so now we are in a pretty decent spot. I think we're just gonna do the chain situation. Nice. They'll even let me use Counterspell so I can chill for a turn. Oh, they're gonna run into it? No, they broke patience. They were being like extremely patient and then gave up. I have 6 mana in play, so I just need 7, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this, because they can totally Aura of Silence this if they want. Should I bounce back the Sterling Grove? No, I need my lands. Okay, we are doing the plan. This is the slower version, but it works all the same. Gush or Gush? I'll take Gush. I'm going to pitch this Parallax Wave, which I have, or Parallax Tide, which I have too many of. Guess I should have bounced the Sterling Grove now. And yeah, if they don't have Xantid Swarm, then that's how you get them. Pretty tasty match. Could have been a lot tougher, but yeah, no Swords to Plowshares. Main deck. I mean, they won game one, so there's that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, Enchantress is supposed to be good against Dreadnought, but as you saw there, you still just the sideboard plan is so good, and I had all the options. I think I sideboarded a little inaccurately though, because I needed to hit those land drops, so I had to keep like some amount of cantrips in. So I'd probably tweak what I did a little bit. Maybe take out a Powder Keg once I saw my opponent didn't have any 1-drops, but you know, Powder Keg to Enchantress Argothian is still pretty reasonable, I think. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Those sideboard games just didn't feel very close. Kind of think that, you know, game one, if things were just a little different, I probably win, right? They cast like 5 enchantresses. It's like I answered 3 of them, so they didn't have plowshares. They had elephant grass instead. So yeah, I think game one I was close, and then game 2 and 3 just weren't close. And this deck is, I mean, what can you say? What can you say about that? It's just how it goes. Time for the winning in. This is an interesting one. But yeah, let's keep. Like, actually happy to see Chain of Vapor in this hand, and I could randomly just draw double Stifle and be happy. Weathered Wayfarer. Okay, could be a tough matchup. Happy that I have the Chain of Vapor for potential Meddling Mage shenanigans. Let's see what my opponent opts to do. They're on the play with Weathered Wayfarer. Gemstone Mine. Sylvan Library. I will Daze this if I draw a Daze. Mishra's Factory is pretty bad against the Wasteland deck. And for one, clock is started. Alright, this should be a tough one. And this is not my favorite hand, but I do have some tools. I don't have Dominates, which are pretty important, but I do have the extra keg. I have the AKs, which are really important for grinding, so still can be a real match. If they play Meddling Mages, things could get harder. I also have these Gushes, which can be good to hold for stuff in the future. And yeah, I'm pretty happy to see that they're in a pretty slow start here. Paid Sylvan once. There's the Meddling Mage. They just ran it and straight into Counterspell. No fear, huh? I just played Opt. What if I'm playing Crow Dog? No matter. Little island flooded. But yeah, I wasn't about to dig for Counterspell against this Meddling Mage. So they finally get a cash in their Wayfarer, but you know, just remember it's turn 4 and this cost them a card, so they are going to just be cycling this first time, and they can definitely keep activating it because there'll be a land behind at this point, but they just gave up their on the play advantage. So I'm up a card because I was on the draw. So ooh, risky 12 life. Also, another important thing, it's hard for them to have Terravores that are any good size. So, but yeah, Meddling Mage version is going to be tougher. Okay, just getting the Gemstone Mine. Pretty interesting. It smells like a second Meddling Mage. Should I look for the counter here? I mean, if they know to name Chain of Vapor, they could get me, but they could hedge and like name a card that doesn't matter. If I Gush, I kind of tip off that I care about this, but it's a tricky one. Interesting. What if they name Vision Charm? I mean, I don't like my prospects. I'll have 3 more looks to counter the second meddling mage, and I still have to deal with the first meddling mage. I mean, this Chain of Vapor is going to be dead after I cast the Gush anyways. I think I really just have to gamble that they're just going to name the wrong card. I don't really see Chain of Vapor targeting meddling mage getting me out of this. They'll just recast it next turn. I have to have the counterspell, then I have to find the last Chain of Vapor in my deck. If they name Envision Charm, I'm like also cooked, but I'm just kind of cooked in a lot of ways. Yeah, let's just check that I don't have the random Powder Keg in my main deck. Pretty sure I don't. Oh, they got me on that. Double meddling mage, Sylvan Library. Definitely does the job. I did draw a counterspell. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have believed. Cast the Gush second time, still try to draw into counterspell or foil. Then I'd be drawing towards 1 Chain of Vapor to remove the meddling mage. It'd still be such a nasty spot. Maybe it would have been good enough. It's really hard to say. There's the Sylvan Safekeeper. We're gonna pretend like this matters. Well, Sylvan Safekeeper, meddling mage. These are all gonna be good things. Yeah, I need the dominates, unfortunately. This is the matchup where I want dominate. Brush Hopper. Okay. They've got a sick build here. Got all the goodies. Okay. Don't have to show them any more info. But I'm sure they're sure. Alright, so actually still pretty fine with Tide combo here. All things considered. Meddling Mage is annoying, but foil's not great because it puts lands into the graveyard for them. Vision Charm is actually interesting because I can actually use Vision Charm to protect Powder Keg, which is kind of like a reasonable play a lot of the time. How many Dreadnoughts is enough Dreadnoughts? Man, don't have the 3rd Flash of Insight that I really need. I'm always dying for that 3rd Flash of Insight. It's kind of funny, but I have the AK, so that's sort of what it's about. 2 Dreadnoughts. Yeah, I mean, if I Tide combo them with Powder Keg also, they'll be on 0, but I kind of sometimes want to play a fast game. Like, I can still play the game that I Chain of Vapor, Meddling Mage, Jam, and Protect. So I don't want to like completely take it on my range, but obviously if I cut foil Daze, then my odds to do that are not very good anyways. I think this is like kind of an okay compromise here. Three Dreadnoughts is a lot, but let's just... We're going to be drawing enough cards, I think, that I can like cast a Dreadnought and just 2-for-1 myself to let it die, because I can just like AK to recoup the cards. I think that's like part of the things that you have to change in your thinking about the AK build, because 2-for-1ing yourself was really bad. That's why you board out Dreadnoughts, but 2-for-1ing yourself is okay if you have accumulated knowledge, because then you just recoup the cards like really quickly. And this feels like it's just going to be an excellent start where I can handle the first proactive thing they do. I can build up an excellent hand, and then, you know, if my answer is going to be like I can get to the point where Tide matters, I can get to the point where Keg matters, I can get to all these points. Interesting spot though. I do like not hitting the land. I guess I could have potentially cast Opt there, but once we do hit the land, I'll go to 9 cards, 10 cards, but then I can go 8 cards. Yeah, it's not ideal. Hopefully they cast something that I need to counterspell. Stifling that would have been funny. Sylvan Library. Sylvan Library feels tasty enough to counter, honestly. It's an interesting one. They have 6 cards in hand. They haven't done anything else. I think I'm going to save all my counters for Meddling Mages. And yeah, I'm actually just going to draw draw one card, because I'll hand size. There's like no point in hand sizing. It's a Parallax Tide, second Counterspell. Everything except for the 4th land, huh? I want all these cards eventually, but yeah, I guess it's fine. I can even cast the Parallax Tide off Gush and then combo afterwards. So I think this is like a pretty greedy Portent to basically get to the point where I'm like completely mana flooded, but it also, like, if my opponent's planning on being reactive, it's like a really excellent setup, and then if they're planning on being proactive, it's fine too. I mean, I can even go for combo and then play my lands out, get some cards out of their hand, and then Parallax Tide them later, and then combo later, because I have the 3 Dreadnoughts instead of the 2, so. I think we'll be pretty okay with that. I mean, maybe I should have drawn Tide plus Counterspell and then shuffled away the Daze. It's a 2/2 Terravore. I just need to get this Counterspell out of my hand, unfortunately. It's like literally just doesn't scare me at all. It would take so long to kill me, but I'm sitting here, I have all these cards, and like I'm just sort of chilling, like just countering spells so that I can get Counterspell out of my hand. Just kind of awkward, I guess. It's like I want to have some around for the meddling mages and bigger things that matter. Oh, they draw an extra card. There's the port. Port is not too concerning, so I'd like to find an island now. There we go. Okay. And tricky one, so they can force through something through Counterspell if they port me for first next turn. So I actually have to just relax here and hand size this Daze, even though the Daze is going to be turned on after Parallax Tide. So hand size a Gush. It's kind of ridiculous to hand size the Gush. Yeah, I'm going to hand size the Daze. I mean, they're oh, I could have hand sized the Portent, actually. Portent's going to find me my next AK. That was a pretty tricky one. I think I could have taken a maybe greedier, faster line. Now I actually have to contend with this this Rishin import. It's quite annoying, to be honest. There's an Addarkar waste. Let's see if they just go for Naked Meddling Mage. Well, I've been saving up my entire life for this. Armageddon. I mean, Gushing again is just forcing me to discard everything, so. It's funny, I could have dazed this and Chain of Vapor Tide later. It's like kind of going to take so long. It's going to take so long. What's their plan? They're going to go Mox Meddling Mage? I guess it's kind of like a escape valve now. Can't believe Armageddon's really still in their deck to a certain extent. Can't believe they did it after playing their land drop too, and also one of their blue sources, which they sort of needed. Okay. What do I want to do with these? I want the Flash of Insight, no doubt. Don't really need the Tide, so I can hand size. I can hand size my Tide this turn because I've got the Chain of Vapor combo, so seems fine to me. I don't even know if I need the Flash of Insight that bad. I really just have everything. There's Wasteland. I mean, why do I even need Tide? They just blew up their own lands for me. I could just like stifle this Dreadnought. And they have Sylvan Library going. It's an interesting one. But I have a Flash of Insight in my hand, so there's sort of no point to, I think, I don't know. It feels so comforting to just have Parallax Tide, you know? Because it'll just kind of stop them from getting anything going. But the rest of these cards are trash. I just like don't even need Parallax Tide. They have 4 cards in hand. I just need to look for 4 protection spells. But I guess I can just draw the Parallax Tide and then flash for hand size the Flash of Insight, flash for 2. I mean, I've got this Chain of Vapor. I don't know. I need counterspells. I mean, at some point they can just like Meddling Mage me out of nowhere. This is too much to think about. Okay, they wanted the extra card, so they are just like completely dead on lands. Man, I guess I should have gone for it. Oh man, should I just Chain of Vapor this Sylvan Library because they haven't drawn any sources. They drew to go one deeper, so they know that their top card isn't the planes they need to turn on their thing. I think I should have made that read a little while ago that their Sylvan Library locked and they can't spend any more life on it. And also I just would have gotten the cards out of my hands because I hand sized a couple times. It's just a bad value. Okay, well, should have just done that a year ago. Okay, so they're still just going to play Armageddon. I'm on the draw, so I need this like counterspell action going back again for early Meddling Mages. I think this Misdirection is still good. They have like random's Orm's Chant. I can Misdirection their Orm's Chant to them. I can Misdirection their... I can use Misdirection as a protection spell for Dreadnought. My opponent's in chat, that get in trap, huh? I'm like, I don't think that I trapped you into casting Armageddon. I just don't think that you should ever cast Armageddon against this deck. They might have been thinking that surely I don't have a Gush. If I had Gush, I would have cast it by now. But yeah, no, that's not the case. I'm pretty inclined to cut Impulse here just because Impulse is so mana inefficient. Daze doesn't even stop Meddling Mage through Mox Diamond, and then I need Impulse to help me find copies of Powder Keg, which are actually like pretty deep in my deck at that point. I mean, I don't love foiling turn 2 Meddling Mage anyways. I mean, but you still have to do it, but you don't like it. I mean, maybe I just let the Meddling Mage live if my hand doesn't have like Dreadnought in it, right? I would only foil it if my hand had Dreadnought, and then I'd like try to ship it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm playing too many Dreadnoughts. Like 3 is too much. Well, it isn't. It is in this hand. The Keg. So many good cards. I mean, just why does this keep happening to me? Maybe my opponent will cast Armageddon again. Okay, Weathered Wayfarer for the win. Oh, extra Gush. Not actually excited about that. This is just going to be a force check, but I could end up gaining 12 life, which, you know, don't mind. Gemstone Mine, slightly scarier. AK, man. Now I'm incentivized to cast AK instead of just ship it. I'm against my opponent's 5-card hand. 5-card hand, full keep, no Meddling Mage, no Sylvan Library. It's literally impossible that they kept a hand that had 0 removal, but they could be waiting for their Meddling Mage to play it around Daze. And if they were, then this gets drained into my hand, and I look like a fool. I have so much card draw in my hand that I'm not using. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 turn because I can Gush into Vision Charm, and they might not like Mage into open mana here. But I might have to float and Gush if it's Mage, which is really nasty if it's not Mage. Or they just run it into, okay, no. They're not going to run it into Daze. Yeah, they had sort of the, oh, they're just, okay. Oh, okay. This is great news for me. Oh, ooh. Okay, well, I don't really want them to start activating Weathered Wayfarer. I don't think that's what I want to happen, so maybe I should just wait 1 more turn, just Impulse into land, because I wasn't going to hand size. Yeah, patience is so much better. Dude, patience is broken. If you're watching this, be patient. Don't do what I do. But of course I am protected now with foil, which is obviously excellent. I mean, it's not obviously excellent because I don't have the islands to to get back, but you know, we take that. I mean, could just let this resolve. What happens if we let this resolve? Man, I wish I knew there on Pyroblast. I would have had like maybe at least one Hydroblast. Well, they're not doing anything. Kind of seems like they're playing mono removal right now. And I don't want to miss my next island because I've got these Parallax Tides in my hands. So this Pyroblast just resolves. But yeah, I should have just passed the turn, cast Impulse, looked for second foil, look for more goodies. Now they're free to resolve Meddling Mage. Ooh, interesting. They really want to activate Weathered Wayfarer. That's so strange to me. It seems like kind of the randomest thing. Well, I guess I don't have to worry about finding Dreadnoughts. I wonder if they're playing a super hateful version, Pyroblast Meddling Mage, so it's like 4 color. They've got quite the amount of protection. They have 7 cards in hand. Well, at this point, they're going to start hand sizing if they just... Oh, there's the Mox. Okay. Now we're talking. I know about a Plains. Chain of Vapor, huh? Don't I just want more card draw? What happens if I let them activate Weathered Wayfarer? This hand feels like it needs to have a counterspell in it. But I'm going to hand size. I hate hand sizing. Hand sizing is bad. Take this island, let them cycle Wayfarer. What's the worst that can happen? I'm working towards Parallax Tide anyways. Tough spot. They have 5 cards in hand. I'm like trying to wait for them to have fewer cards in hand, but I know one of them's the Plains. Chain of Vapor, Counterspell on the bottom 3. And there's... Just go again? Probably not. Play the island. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have Dazes in my deck is the problem. Oh, right. They go for Port. That kind of makes sense. But I think I can do this all day. Oh, they don't cast anything? I'm just training this for a Hydroblast. Oh, I get to untap my lands too if they get any ideas. This is so interesting. This is like what do you want to do? I don't even want to use my Stifle on this Tide. Like, I want my Stifle for my Dreadnought, but I don't know. I just want to draw cards. Just like want to draw cards and hit land drops. I mean, but I have the benefit of like unlimited time, but I can only hold 7 cards in hand. I need Spellbook, you know? It's like crazy. But like, you know, what am I supposed to do? Maybe I should have just brought in Brain Freeze if we're going to play this slow of a game. Pyroblast this. I guess I have a Daze. Here's going to be a fun tip. If they play the Windswept Heath, I'm going to wait until my upkeep to try to take it with Parallax Tide and then hit the Parallax Tide with the Stifle. But obviously they can just get all the lands in their deck. So I have to decide if I want to use Stifle on this Parallax Tide. I remove no man lands. I just remove this Rishadan Port, which is barely annoying because I have plenty of mana now. So I could just let this Parallax Tide just fade away. Or I can get 1 extra basic land with it, but they're going to hit every land drop anyways because they have the Wayfarer in play. So it seems like just a waste of a card if that's how things are going to go. But what I could do is find another Dreadnought and then choke them up on mana. But then I actually wasted my Daze. It's kind of an interesting one. But yeah, you know, sort of learning here. Now I just kind of want to Dreadnought Stifle double foil back up with after I cast Gush, but I guess I have 1 turn to think about that. I played my land already, so my Gush value isn't off the hook. I really have to hope that my next Dreadnought sticks. I still have an AK in the yard. I still kind of want to hardcast whatever. Another Windswept Heath. Yeah, I didn't get any of their basic lands. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of indifferent to Port. Is there any card that I can draw here that's kind of exciting? Oh, Chain of Vapor is actually kind of exciting. So then I can just like get rid of the Wayfarer for a while. It's kind of funny. get back Port on my next upkeep. Yeah, let's just play the patience game. Get to decide if I want to cash in my second of 4 Stifles on this Parallax Tide just to remove 3 lands. Maybe I just should have never gone for this Tide play with the Wayfarer play, but I don't know. It's like these 3 lands are like, I don't know, it's just a Rishon import. It's like 1 Rishon import. Did I really let 1 Rishon import, like, you know, make me worried about everything? Okay, the second Rishon import is kind of tasty. So now my next one, I can decide if I want to get 2 Rishon imports out of the way. And my opponent's actually discarding the hand size now, so they'll inevitably just discard some lands. So 2 Rishon imports is annoying for them to have in play, so just stifling to prevent 1 Rishon import is like whatever, but I guess my idea is that I can stop the, I can at some point cast the second, I mean 2 Rishon imports means they get to resolve whatever they want. Well, I've got 2 foils in my hand, so never mind. But I would like to, get rid of the Rishon imports. So I think I'm in the business of just casting this next Parallax Tide eventually. Should I AK into some islands? Yeah, I mean, I guess the hand size thing is just so annoying. I'm going to cast my next Dreadnought just that I don't discard. It's like, what am I doing otherwise? I'm just going to go, I guess I can go Gush, play an island, Parallax Tide, double foil, but then I won't have the Chain of Vapor for it. God, hand size management is so obnoxious. And then I have to like play on my last Dreadnought. It's kind of annoying. And they have 8 cards in hand. One of them's a whatever. So what could I discard if I discard? AK? AK I want to cast. I could go Gush, Parallax Tide, pass the turn. Gush, Parallax Tide, pass the turn. Expect them to foil. None of these options are good to me. But I have to draw lands, so I'm just gonna do this. But yeah, so the thing that I said earlier in sideboarding was actually like super true, which is that like I want to have Dreadnoughts in my deck so that I can play Dreadnoughts without worrying about them being like, my last Dreadnought on Earth. It's like I almost want this Plowshares to resolve because like I don't have any like whatever, but I guess I'm drawing towards Misdirection. And I can also just Chain of Vapor this. Is that crazy? And Gush foil gets 1 foil out of my hand. But then I don't even want to pick up the islands because I'm trying to get to 5. What am I doing here, man? Well, never say this is an easy deck when you're playing against real resistance. I'm just gonna gain 12 life. They just haven't put anything on the board. Like they just want to sit here all day, like with 7 cards in hand. Like, aren't my 7 cards gonna be better than theirs eventually? Isn't that the idea? Like, they can have all the lands in the world. I don't care, right? Like, because they don't have man lands. I'm also running low on time. I kind of have to just make a decision. I think I needed to have more of a like idea of like my strategy was just kind of busted, but I've actually never played this matchup, so like it's fine. Would they reveal another Rishon import, I assume? No, Treetop Village. Okay, they want a Treetop. They're gonna win the game the slowest way possible by spending 3 mana a turn. Like that's why I kept all my foils up so that I can do Parallax Tide, Chain of Vapor against them. Like, they're not going to have enough red spells for red mana for Pyroblast. They don't want to play Treetop Village because they want to stay 1 land behind. I have 4 in play though, and they have 5 in play. They should have just failed to find if they wanted that much heat. I mean, I guess the one problem is like if they have no lands in their deck, they're only going to draw spells. Their spells are going to be pretty good. If they play a Terravore, I have to counter it. It's 4/4. I mean, I can Chain of Vapor it, but I have to get to 7 lands to get to that point. So I have to hit land. I guess 7 lands isn't too crazy. pretty reasonable clock. Well, I have to get to 6 lands because I have the Gush. And if they're going to double port me every turn, they're not going to be attacking me for that much. Okay. Oops, I should float. I should float because if they do this on my upkeep, I'm just going to whatever. Okay, so they want the end step action. Guess I'll draw 2 and try to hit a land this turn. I am in a rush all of a sudden. There we go. And we got the opt too. Stifle. I think no Stifle, right? Because it's not doing anything for me. So I have a Stifle on the bottom, and I have like, when I cast this impulse, I should have taken notes. Okay, it's okay. Gotta lock in. 6 minutes is not a lot of time to win a game when you're playing blue pre-modern. Wonder if they go for Armageddon here. Foils ended up pretty good. Foils are good against Rich Import. Rich Import is really good though. Look how good Rich Import is. It's kind of awesome. And Arcar Waste. Second Terravore. Unfortunately, I can't can't Chain of Vapor both Terravores. What a shit show. My foil's gonna grow the other Terravore, and I'm way behind on stupid. This is just bad. I'm way behind on being able to cast Parallax Tide next, because now I'm fighting my way up the land count again. Guess I should have foiled the first one. Just like been a little bit more chill. Making it a 6/6 is so rancid. All these non-land cards I want though. I mean, I guess I don't have to have the Gush. I mean, I don't have to have the AK. It's fine. I can do this. I can do this for a while. I want to. I don't know. This is pretty bad. This is not a good spot. Can I just draw a Powder Keg? and be able to count it up and just like either have it on 0 or have it on 3 or have it on something. Float. Pass. They also know how to float pass on my draw step. Second Gush is so bad. Okay, that's okay. I can take a few hits and I can panic Chain of Vapor. I can do like an end step Chain of Vapor and then try to find the Stifle for the second Chain of Vapor. Okay, now I really need Powder Keg. Maybe I was like wrong at the point of that I the first Parallax Tide, I should actually just let that Pyroblast resolve and then just had some random Dazes. Lost. What is this? Call the Herd? Now I really need a Powder Keg. Okay. Because I really need a Powder Keg, I'm going to AK for 3. Oh, it's my draw step? Does that change anything? No. Okay, gotta go fast. Gotta find my next Stifle and Armageddon pretty quick. And I don't know, I have to shuffle this even though I know the bottom of my deck. But I'm just like looking for a flash of insight, right? So what's the deal? I have to take this damage. I have to take 11 here because if they just flashback Call the Herd after I blow up the token, that's like no good for me. But if I take 11, then the Wayfarer is going to be 5 attacks away. I kind of have to be okay with that though. So if you do this, blow it up, Wayfarer is going to be whatever, 5 attacks away instead of like whatever, but they can flashback the Elephant token and then I'll have no answer to the Elephant token. So yeah, and then I can try to answer a Wayfarer by putting Dreadnought into play. Sylvan, that's fine. I have 3 cards in hand. Oh my god, I could have just jammed a Dreadnought with triple protection from here. Oh, I counted my mana wrong. I thought I was going into my turn with 1 more mana. So I had to bounce the Terror. Well, I guess I can bounce the Terravore. I have to just draw Stifle later. No, I have to bounce the Terravore. Oops. Should have bounced and countered the Terravore like a year ago. Oops. Oops. Okay, I thought I had 1 more mana than I did. That's just a blunder. So should we what should we do? We need a Lotus Petal. Bounce the Terravore, counter it on the way back. It's fine. I mean, Meddling Mage. think I have to counterspell that. Okay, I spent too much time thinking too. Like I just wasted my clock, and I was just lost. Couldn't really like figure out what my game plan was. Neutralize. That's actually quite smart. So I have to foil this, which obviously puts my Gush down. I shouldn't have just, oh man, my Gush was so bad. Naturalize, I pop this and they go for the lethal attack, but if they go for the lethal attack, they won't recast Terravore, and then I can use, so they go for that. So I pop everything, use the lethal, animate the attack. They won't have port, so bounce the Terravore, I take 4, go down to 1, and then I'm just looking for the last Chain of Vapor. Yeah. I can also try to Gush into Misdirection, but none of those are a thing. Lair, does that give enough mana? Yeah, they get the double port next upkeep too, which is frustrating to say the least. Or they can just flashback Call the Herd, which I think would be quite powerful. But they don't get the Terravore replay. Okay, that's the plan. It's actually insane to me that they just don't have any removal. They just had counterspells, naturalized Swords of Plowshares. I think I should have just played a normal game. I think I should have just played Dreadnought. Yep. Okay. Gushing. Okay. Gushing. Chain of Vapor and Chain of Vapor only. Double Vision Charm. I have access to 6 mana, so I can Portent into the Vision Charm. Yes, right, because I still need to cast the Parallax Tide. Oh, but the Chain of Vapor doesn't work. Okay, so that doesn't work. So what am I supposed to do against this Treetop Village? Okay. I think this was a winnable game, but I actually just completely failed to play it. So it's like so interesting because I just get ported on the end step. Yeah, I just needed the last Chain of Vapor. It's not there. And I can Vision Charm the Lair into something, but I can't Vision Charm the Treetop Village into something. I can't phase out the Treetop. Well, GG's. I mean, I actually think that this this match went a lot better for me than I expected. And I think that I think I should have just not played Parallax Tide. Like, or just played like 2 instead of 3, or played 1 instead of 3, because Parallax Tide only removes port, like whatever. The first one did absolutely nothing. They just had a Wayfarer in play, so it just like didn't matter that I had it. It just like is eating extra Stifles, and it's like if I'm gonna use Stifles, I want to be playing Dreadnoughts too. And like, yeah, I mean, I don't have Dominate, but I don't need Dominate. I could just bring in Keg, Misdirection. Like Chain of Vapor's still fine. Like Chain of Vapor, like, you know, Chain of Vapor Meddling Mage is still relevant. Sometimes you can Chain of Vapor Terravore. I just play like 1 or 2 Tide just to deal with like the stray Treetop Village, try to do Erishan Port things, and just like draw enough cards. I was drawing so many cards, and I like had no proactive, interesting things to do because I actually didn't have mana. Like I was just getting ported. And like the turns where I didn't have 7 mana, or like the turns where I didn't have 5 mana, were like actually super important, and the ports were keeping me off 5 mana. So like, why am I playing Parallax Tide against a deck that can reliably keep me off 5 mana? Like, why don't I just play the Dreadnought game and like just draw more cards to them? Like after sideboard, I'm worried about Naturalize, Pyroblast, Swords to Plowshares, and then sometimes a Meddling Mage. It's like I can beat that. I can just beat that playing my deck. Like I can even bring in Blue Blast. Yeah, no, 0 Tide. I thought that it was good in the game that they cast Armageddon, and then I realized that Armageddon was the reason why they had no lands, not my Parallax Tide. like their hand is always worse. Like one of the things that makes this deck is so powerful is that their hand is always worse when they're not playing blue. Like if they're not sculpting their hand, they're just like drawing like Dirtles. They're just drawing nothing. Like they're drawing dust. They're drawing like Terravors. Like who cares? Terravors are smaller than 12/12. Like they don't race 12/12. They get Chain of Vapor too easy. They cost too much mana. They stop them from rich and importing. They have Mox Diamonds in their deck. It's just like complete air. It's like even if Sylvan Library draws 4 cards, they can't come close to like, you know, that's just a Gush and a Flash of Insight. It's just like, I don't know. Okay. I don't think we learned what beat Dreadnought besides Meddling Mage and Null from the Landstill player, which was definitely good enough. But I mean, I'm like playing that Terravor matchup. Like at no point did I feel like that was a game that I was supposed to lose. And I think that I just played myself into a loss instead of whatever. Because it's just like they just weren't putting a clock into play. They didn't have like a way to like force me to do anything other than just sculpt my hand and go for the perfect, you know, setup. Yeah. And overall, all the matches I won were just like a walk. I mean, Enchantress ended up being, you know, pretty straightforward. I think it made a difference that they didn't have like Xandit Swarm. It kind of seems like they might have been playing an old Enchantress list that didn't quite have the same level of anti-blue. A lot of Enchantress lists you see from 10 Arms, Chris Toller have lots of Xandit Swarm. Sam Black's Enchantress list has Hidden Gibbons and Pyroblasts. You know, we didn't run into like brick wall hate, but yeah, I think if your goal is just to like play Meddling Mage in your Terrageddon deck, I honestly, I don't think it's enough. I mean, was my opponent drawing too like it's like if the Terrageddon player is drawing thin, that's kind of what you expect because their deck is like 35 cards that just care about mana, like 27 lands, 4 Mox, 4 Weather Wayfarer. But yeah, I mean, it's like I almost feel like I just would have won that match if I just could play more islands. Like I would have won that match playing Stasis, you know. It's just like but 24 island Dreadnought control deck. Because but I mean, I guess that's interesting. So it makes it interesting that like that deck is able to exploit what you're doing to a certain extent where it makes you want to have more lands, and the only thing this Dreadnought deck can transform into nearly anything, but the only thing it can't transform into is a deck with more lands. So I would regress to a 4 Dreadnought full combo potential deck and just like, you know, bring in a little bit of interaction for like Meddling Mage, and then just play against the deck like it's a mid-range deck and just try to get your thing into play and Flash of Insight into your good stuff. Like, I don't know. You don't need to draw multiple Parallax Tide to win that one. And yeah, I think I just sideboarded wrong. It's actually kind of funny. So for a very long time, I have been telling everyone to go check out the David Raska sideboard guide for this deck. And I had a very preliminary version when I won the side event at LobsterCon. But since then, David Raska fleshed it out. Like mine had like a bunch of blanks for a lot of matchups. But it just like completely unlocked the deck for me. In this entire league, I wasn't using the sideboard guide. I actually don't want to spoil the sideboard guide. It's available for a $10 donation to charity. You should contact D Vraska. That's the letter D, and then Vraska, like the Planeswalker, all one word, on Discord. And the list, you know, the sideboard guide is available for a charitable donation. I wasn't actually using it. I assume that he has identified maybe that you don't want Parallax Tide against Terrageddon, or he might actually have matchup notes on Terrageddon that kind of talk about Tide. And so I didn't have the benefit of that. My thinking was I can use Tide to set up a thing where I can put Dreadnought into play and they only have, you know, 1 mana. So they can only cast, they can only cast 3 Swords of Plowshares. And so it's like not that hard at that point for me to like play Dreadnought and then counter all the Swords of Plowshares. But, you know, I figured they could have like a 7-card hand with 5 Swords of Plowshare, Pyroblast type stuff, and then I wouldn't be able to fight that with most of my 7-card hands. But the fact of the matter is, game played out. They just like spilled all their stuff. They had Sylvan Library cranking, and they were like naturalizing Powder Keg. Like their hand at the end of the game was 3 unknowns and a naturalize. It was probably just, you know, a couple more Plowshares. So yeah, I should just have 4 Dreadnoughts and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna outdraw you. Like AK is super strong here. Final reflection. We didn't face any beatdown decks. AK is a huge liability if your opponent is very proactive, but one of the things that like you'll still catch them, right? So you're playing AK instead of like some Impulse, some Opt, some Daze. Those are all good in the early game, but what you get in return is a lot of leverage in the Terragon matchup. I lost the Landstill matchup, but you know, it would have made a difference. It would have helped to, it helps that matchup. It helps the Blue Tide matchup a ton. They're relying on AK, so you're kind of forcing them to AK around your AK, and then you just Flash of Insight yours away after you're done using them. So, you know, they're really good there. I think that this configuration is very, very impressive. And I think that the third Flash of Insight in the sideboard is good. I think Dominate is maybe too narrow. I mean, it's a really good way to get card advantage back. Yeah. But it does nothing against Replenish. And it's like maybe okay against Oath Ponza. It's like we put Tides in the deck to beat Replenish and Oath Ponza. We take them out. We're trying to just be an AK deck. It was a lot harder to beat Replenish if Replenish makes adjustments. I think it's hard for Replenish to adjust to Tide, but I think it's very easy for them to adjust for your AK plan. So, yeah, I mean, you want 3 Flash of Insight, that's for sure. But I obviously was skipping them just because, you know, I thought we had enough value with AK Gush Flash of Insight. But, yeah, I don't know. Deck is kind of broken still. I mean, 4-2 is not the best, you know, obviously not the best result and lower than my expectation. But considering, like, you know, I probably just, my head wasn't in the game versus Landstill. And honestly, I didn't play the Terragon matchup tight at all. You know, and just like the rest of them, I was just like in the driver's seat. It's just like, I don't know, you have so much power, so much agency. You have a say about what your opponents are doing. You always have 7 cards in hand. It's just like complete nonsense. So I think we can turn some screws here and get even better. But I mean, it's just scary. Like, it's scary that this deck is so good, and like it's actually like, this feels better than the LobsterCon deck. Like, that's what's wild is, like, the LobsterCon deck was so unbelievably strong, and this deck like AKs do sort of make it feel stronger. But that said, I honestly, like, I wonder if there's like maybe a third thing where you can kind of leave the AKs at home, or maybe the sideboard change adjustment I should have made was like not having as many counter spells against Terragon in, and just kind of jam my good stuff into their good stuff and just like keep jamming and keep reloading my hand, and like just not worry too much about countering anything until they like give up. Like, can you imagine you just board out like counter spells, and then now you're a Tide deck and a Dreadnought deck, and like like, oh my god, I didn't even explore that. I didn't even explore the possibility of just being like, okay, here's my game plan. It's going to be to like not sit around, not leave my mana untapped, just be like, play at sorcery speed, Tide you, Dreadnought you, and just like flood the zone, like completely overwhelm you. It's like, because the problem is like I was drawing cards and holding foils at the same time. You need to draw cards and play cards. You can't draw cards and then hold cards. Ugh, mind explosion. I think if you're out there, you're watching this, you should be absolutely terrified of what this deck is capable of. We did play test sessions of it. Played some mono black decks. We played Fran's mono black pitless rack against it. This crushed pitless rack. It's like you actually need the pit against Dreadnought specifically. This crushed pitless rack. I mean, even pit rack, you know, maybe you just get to a spot where you just like board in all these Flash of Insight, and then you're like, okay, you like pitch until you have like a bunch of Flash of Insight in your graveyard, and then you just like flashback 3 Flash of Insight on your end step, get the Chain of Vapor, Bouncer, Pit, whatever, you know, Dreadnought combo your opponent who also has 0 cards in hand, you know, like you just Flash of Insight, you get Gush, you Gush. I don't know. Like, so maybe even Pit Rack wouldn't beat this. The black green beat down discard decks, those look good. You know, if you have a Tempting Worm in play, it's really hard for me to spend all day casting Accumulated Knowledge, but damn. And then, you know, going full circle, maybe let's just bring the White Splash back. Maybe for a control deck, just having a couple Swords of Plowshares here and there, be able to answer some stuff. now all of a sudden that makes a lot more sense. So yeah, I don't know. This card's broken. This card is bananas. This deck is bananas. But yeah, I'm not gonna make the playoffs with it, so there's that. So that is the one thing. So you can just barely crack the door open enough. Pyroblast and Meddling Mage, Annul, Meddling Mage. I mean, that Landstill deck, Landstill had a lot of card draw. It had proactive, it had reactive. So you had like Meddling Mage, card draw, counter spells, and removal spells. Like they did end up, and like reasonable pressure, because they could kind of end step decree, attack for 2. So they kind of like could do a little bit of everything. And the card Standstill itself is actually really good against Dreadnought decks, just because we play so few lands. We use cantrips to hit our lands, so Standstill is always getting in there. So if Dreadnought pushed out Red-Green Oath Ponza, which brought Standstill back in, then we actually have a format. So I've been a Landstill naysayer for a while. That was the only matchup where I was just like, they're doing something about what I'm doing. like everyone else, it felt like they were trying, but like their ability to guarantee success was still up to like how my draws were, how their draws were. Whereas like it seemed like that Landstill deck could really like grab the bull by its horns, take the reins, like take control of the match, and just like win it, like completely shut the door. And granted, you could say like, okay, it doesn't actually matter if you win by a lot or win by a little, but I think it's more encouraging when like a deck can have a plan and execute it, rather than like that game 2 against Terragon, and like, they had the plan, but like, well, I mean, okay. So we're still just kind of spitballing here. If they don't Armageddon, then they might not lose as hard as they did, because they did have like 7 cards in hand, and like, like, I don't know. I mean, I assumed that there was a lot of removal spells, that if they just had their lands, they would have been fine. So maybe our opponent punted off game 2, brought it back game 3, and all the games should have looked more like game 3. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly. I mean, I think it's hard for you to win with man lands. If you're scared of tapping out, you can't port me off my Parallax Tide stuff. It's hard to win with Terravores because they tend to be small. You have to like work really hard to make them big. It's hard to win with Call the Herd tokens because they get Powder Kegged and dominated. And so the last card you're left with is Hidden Gibbons, and you're a green deck, so you kind of have to add 4 so that you hope to draw 1 before it's irrelevant, because maybe that your Dreadnought opponent is going to watch this video, they're going to next level, and they're just going to be like, screw it, like I'm never going to have more cards than I do right now, and they're never going to have fewer cards than they do right now, so I'm just going to like jam Dreadnoughts into you and try to play a like not the highest speed the Dreadnought deck goes, but like the middle speed, which is just like play Dreadnought, draw some more cards, recoup, keep playing Dreadnoughts before like you have time to like set up your like tap your Wayfarer, set up port, play Mox Diamond, and use Sylvan Library a bunch, all that stuff. So let me know in the comments if you think my reads are ridiculous, but this deck is awesome. This list could use some tuning. I'd be very interested to kind of see what kind of stuff we could do that's like a little different, and think about those key matchups, that Landstill matchup and that Terragon matchup, and think about what could have been done to like really make those easier. But honestly, I think I just win that Terragon matchup if I like had the perspective that I have now, which is why we test. Thanks for watching. See you next time.